Hello there, glad to know you're already waiting and joining us for today's edition of the Signature Show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Well, this past 7 days has been action-packed. Well, we started the week with the unfortunate herdsmen attack in the plateau. More than 100 people lost their lives. Well, the statistics are not agreed on yet. Some say 80 something, some say 100, some say 100 and something. But the truth is that many Nigerian lives were lost in Plateau State. The president has been there, the Senate president has been there, a former president Obasanjo has been there. So many people are visiting the plateau. And that has become a recurring ritual. They attack, many people are killed, then the big men start visiting. Everyone is talking about it, the press, civil society, everyone. And then 1 week, 2 weeks after, we go back to normal business. And then the environment is so comfortable for them to attack again, and we start the ritual all over again. So today we are looking at Nigeria's security challenges. Is there a way out? You know, every day you watch TV, you listen to radio, they are giving you the history of the relationship between the herdsmen and the farmers. For a lot of Nigerians, this is no longer the business of herdsmen and farmers. This is clear criminality, and it has come to a time that authorities need to draw the line. So joining me later on the program will be Captain Bishop C. Johnson, a former captain in the U.S. military, national defense and military strategist, and of course, Senator IROEGBU defense correspondent of THISDAY. They'll be joining me in a moment. But while we were just trying to, recover from what happened, we were also hit in the sports arena. Nigeria lost its bid to move forward in the ongoing World Cup. Some people say, did anybody ever think we were going to win when there was so much blood flowing in the country? But whichever way it went, or whichever way or whatever caused that defeat, the truth is that Nigeria crashed out of that tournament. And for some people, now giving us enough time to talk about our internal problems. As we were recovering from that, a tanker fell in Lagos. A tanker full of fuel fell, and we lost so many lives again, lost many cars, so many wounded. And just as the week is ending, a lot of people are asking, what did we do wrong? We'll take a break. When we return, my guests will be joining me, and if we are lucky, we'll be linking up with those on the ground in Plateau State. We are hoping to be joined by the House of Representative member representing that constituency where that massacre took place. Don't go away. Your show continues in a moment.
If the government is sincere, ranches should be provided in hometowns of those herdsmen, and let them buy whatever haze they need to feed their herdsmen with. Because no matter the solution you bring today, for as long as cattle are allowed to slaughter the country, it's difficult to stop the killings by suspected herdsmen.
Government should go deep down to the communities to be able to source out their information, because the information lies down in the people that are living in the community, the people that live in the rural areas, and most especially the people that are most affected. And we should not sit in our offices in the city here believing that we are addressing the situation. So the president should not just make a pronouncement, that they are on the situation, they are on top of situation, while the information is lying down with the community.
The number one persons for that state, first of all, should be questioned for every killing that happens. Secondly, every of our security parastatals, the armed forces, the police, whatever, there needs to be a total overhauling. The kind of things we have heard that has been happening obviously shows that there's no synergy between all these forces. Hearing things like few minutes before killings will happen, they leave the place, those things should not be heard. So definitely some persons have information somewhere but they're not working with it.
We are urging the government to do is to totally solve this problem once and for all. It can be solved. Who are the people who are in charge of the security? What are the states doing? Was the security personnel, were they withdrawn? Where did the people pass? No roadblocks, nothing. Did they just fly from heaven and then they're in a place in a community destroying lives? There's a route. So this thing can be checked if really we want to check it.
They have to be serious with the citizens. They have been serious. I mean, see a deception from the pit of hell because there is no serious action taken by the government in order to secure the lives of citizens. People are dying there in mass and there's no rescue. Even the people who we think they are the security operatives who are supposed to take care of lives and properties, they are also playing nonchalant attitude concerning the security of the nation.
And what solution can government bring into this issue? Is to harmonize the system. We have to harmonize the system. The system is in disharmony. The military and the government, somehow to me, they are contradicting. They are not working in harmony. And the people too, they are not working in harmony with government. So there is the need to harmonize the system. One. Two, we don't even know the source or the reason or where this issue is emanating. That is the idea of herdsmen, Boko Haram. We cannot pinpoint exactly the source. Formerly it was religious, but now to everybody it's no more. It's more politics because there's no reason killing people in a plateau when APC is not struggling for that position, for that state. And there's no reason killing in Benue when PDP is not at war with APC in Benue. So what are we saying? So we need government to harmonize the system.
If these people have been caught once, because the number that go in to destroy these villages and to kill these people are many. It can't be one person, it can't be two people. If these people are arrested, prosecuted, the others, they will not continue. It will just stop. But because they will do it and get away with it, another group will say that, because I don't know whether it is the same group that will be operating in Plateau, operating in Benue, operating in Taraba, operating in Adamawa. I don't know if it is only one group, so there are many. If these people have been caught once and dealt with, they would have stopped it.
You're still watching the Signature Show, and in the studio I'm with Captain Bishop C. Johnson, former captain in the U.S. Army and National Defense and Military Strategist. Captain Bishop, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I also have Senator IROEGBU, Defense Correspondent of THISDAY. Senator, always a pleasure having you on the show. Gentlemen, let's start first of all by looking at what has become consistent in the media, in the social media, in conversations and all that. Is it right to say that what happened in Plateau State was an attack by herdsmen? I want to start with you, Bishop.
Thank you for having me. I've been following this issue of herdsmen, farmers clashes for quite some time now. And I know we'll be having this debate after debate on who is responsible and who is not responsible. The president said they are foreigners.
The Kaduna State Governor, Erufai, said they are foreigners. Some people say they are local. But whichever it is, whether they're foreigners or they're local, the truth of the matter is that people are dying in our country and we need to quickly identify who is responsible. I cannot tell you authoritatively that I know who is responsible. But what I can tell you is that the information that I am getting from the areas that have been affected in the course of my presentation on this issue is that what appears to be happening on the ground is the herdsmen go into these areas. If there is any slightest provocation, they retreat back with their cattle, and there is a militia in the rear that they inform and give guidance and direction to where that particular incident took place. And then those militia in the rear will come back either in the middle of the night or in the broad daylight and then conduct raiding operations. This is the information that I get from some of the people in the areas that have been affected. The story is similar, whether it's in Benue or Nasarawa or in Plateau State. So I think that the key question is, or key thing that we need to do is to identify who are those militia people in the rear that are always, when alerted, they will come and conduct these attacks and then escape back into the bush. And the way we can do that is to get hold of the herdsmen, because from the information I get, they are like, what they call OP for them. They're the ones that are in the forward operating base, so to say, and they're the ones who report back and alert them. So there's a link between the herdsmen and the militia people that are conducting these operations.
Senator, same question. Is it right to say that the people committing this mayhem, these atrocities, these armed to the teeth gangs that Bishop has referred to as a militia, is it right to say that herdsmen committed the crimes that we see in Benue, we see in Plateau?
Okay, I want to align with the analysis Bishop has given on this issue. But herdsmen has always been a factor, in fact a central factor on this issue, because either by direct admission or by side remarks or by amplifying statement on the issue, they have kind of thrown themselves up as the party involved in this whole issue. They've not been afraid of speaking out. Sometimes it has been neither here nor there whether they've admitted they're the one that carried out, but by their utterances, they've justified it, giving reasons why those actions were taken. But there's a very salient point I want to make here, is the issue of defining this problem. If we can be able to define this problem, then we can be able to solve it. They've been bandied words. He said militia. They'll call it, like we in the media, at a point I get confused. They will call it in Zamfara, they call it bandit. In Southern Kaduna, either bandit or criminals. In Benue, it comes with different things. Plateau, different things. These are kind of terminology to confuse us, keep on debating about it. But it behoves on the state, because the state has the authority, both the constitutional and moral, to officially give it a name. But the state have shied away from defining what the problem is, who are the perpetrators. Like he mentioned, even the president of the country, I was kind of shocked when our president went to the US to start calling that is the Libyans, that's conspiracy theory. And if we're talking about conspiracy theory, it shouldn't come from the number one citizen of the country who has all the intelligence. Because when he says something in an official platform, it's not as if he's making a side remark that is being caught by the media or making in his private capacity. He is saying in official and starts calling Libya. He called Libya. You hear Governor Rufai say foreigners, and you come Mieti Allah will begin to give you justification why such actions. These are confusion. But whether herdsmen are involved, they are involved. Like he said, how to begin to trace, find out who are really, is it that herdsmen are in alliance with these killers? Maybe they have some question to answer. But it's unfortunate that the authorities have chickened out from even inviting them for questioning. There have been principal actors who have voiced out, who have made comments about this issue, but surprisingly no invitation, no arrests have been made, even to question these actors. Tell us what you know about this. You know, sometimes, even with our speaking here, sometimes we try to chew our words. It has happened, maybe you say something, before you know it, DSS invites you. But what happened to these actors, these personalities that have come out and voiced out a kind of tacit support to the killings, justifying, giving reason? And that's why many people were disappointed when there was a statement from the presidency, the last statement. You see some paragraph that seem to justify reason why the attack, stating that there was an intelligence report that was 100 cows were killed. And when you read presidential statement with statement that was attributed to an actor which they are denying now, like 4 days after some media backlash, they are denying. There is no difference from that statement to. That's why people are even losing confidence in the ability of the state to intervene. And unfortunately, it's the state that have to define what the problem is.
Gentlemen, let me ask. It's easy for me and you and all of us, for instance, to say that Mr. President is not approaching this matter the way we think is the best way to approach it. But is it possible that the entire security infrastructure is also compromised to the fact that if you have a police commissioner, say in Benue, who sees this gang of killers and arrests them, that he's going to be suspended, or what are we saying? Is it that they can't do their job even before Mr. President or before the Inspector General of Police or before a governor says, do this? Are we saying that all the policemen everywhere are compromised? Is that what we are saying?
No. There is no way all the security forces are going to compromise. And let me tell you, there's a reason why our president is called President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The truth of the matter is that the buck stops at his desk. He is the only one who presented himself to the whole entire constituency of Nigeria for election. So he was elected by the people of this country to do one, protect the lives and property of the citizens. Any other thing Mr. President is doing is secondary. That is his primary objective. And when he fails in that capacity, that is a colossal failure. So I am not going to sit here and begin to blame the security agencies that they don't do or didn't do that. The president has the ability and the power. If he in any way senses compromise in any of the security agencies, to reshuffle them, fire some people, bring in some people. So if he is determined to deal with this problem, the issue of compromise in the security agencies is not supposed to be an issue, because he can hire and he can fire. So it should not be an excuse. This president has a constitutional responsibility And we have been calling on him way before now to take some serious measures to end these killings that are happening in our country right now. So, but what it appears to me is either that the president is either unwilling or he is incapable of dealing with that problem. And if any one of them is the case, I think this is the time for Nigeria as a state to abdicate its claim of sovereignty and allow the international community to come in and exercise their responsibility to protect innocent lives from what appears to be a genocide or ethnic cleansing happening in the Middle Belt. If the international community does not take action and this problem continues to the point that there is a civil war in this country, the humanitarian catastrophe that is going to emerge from it is going to be at such proportion that the international community is going to be overwhelmed. It's going to dwarf any humanitarian situation that we have seen in this country. Understand that Nigeria is one of the largest countries on earth. So any humanitarian catastrophe in this country is going to overwhelm the whole entire West African sub-region and even beyond. And it will be at a proportion that will be very much difficult for the international community to deal with. So that is why they need to step in right now and stop these killings that are going on in Nigeria. I will even go further to recommend that Nigeria should abdicate its right of sovereignty and that there should be an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council so that we can have both AU and UN troops in the Middle Belt to mediate in these problems. So if that happens, whether our security agencies are compromised or not, whether the president is unwilling or incapable of dealing with the problem, all those ones will be relevant because we now have troops that are not Nigerians mediating in this problem.
Senator, do you think we've gotten to that point where something as extreme as what Bishop is saying should happen, where the government abdicates its responsibility of ensuring the security of lives and property to a foreign force?
It has not gotten to that point, but it's what my brother is saying, if I can understand him, is an euphemism for state of helplessness and anger, despair Nigerians have found themselves in the whole state of insecurity and the seeming nonchalant attitude of government to reigning on the perpetrators of this violence against its own citizens. In this instance, whether government has failed in its primary responsibility, I would say government have failed so far. But do they have the capacity to tackle it? They have. But is the political will there to do it? No. We've not seen any. You know, when the current administration took charge, there was something that in the first few months, there is a signature language that is known to the administration, body language. And the same body language is pervading the whole security architecture of the country. Because the body language, like he said, don't blame the security because they act based on body language. It's the same security, Nigerian security agencies that went to Operation Python dance and dance on armed IPOB or whatever in the east, crushed Kanu home, perforate his house with bullets and whatever, and die the whole movement. It's still the same security architecture. It's still the same. We still have that is doing tremendously well in the northeast, but there seems to be total lack of capacity and will to address this issue. And that's why people are asking, what is it? Because it's as if whenever the president tries to act on this, as if he's being forced. Most time it took him time, whenever he's having a national presidential speech, address, it took him time to begin to mention herdsmen issue as a security threat. He almost omitted. Even during the first presidential media parley, he refused to even, he doesn't talk about it. And even when you check all the presidential statements to address this issue, when there's always killing, you find out that they always make statements days after uproar. If there's no much media uproar, they don't do anything. There was this particular incident when there was a lot of killings in Agatu. Presidency didn't make any statement. Within that period, the Agatu, though statistics, but it was in hundreds like this. Then there was a terrorist attack in Brussels, Belgium, where few people were killed in Europe. Immediately, there was a statement from the presidency commiserating with the people of Belgium and this, and you begin to wonder, does it mean that the number one citizen of this country doesn't care for his own citizen? So it's from that angle I begin to understand where he's coming from. But the international community always wary of intervening in the state. They still respect that, and that's why you see what happened in Rwanda. And that's why people are afraid. Before international community intervene, it will have gotten so bad from this kind of pointers, where the state seem incapable, where the non-state actors seem to be overwhelming the will of the state to act, that leads to Rwanda. And if someone calls for international community, is an euphemism to say the state should wake up so that we don't descend to this road.
What is your take in what you hear in discussions again when people say that, yes, this incapacity, this unwillingness to rein in these criminals is because the majority of the leadership of our security forces, be the army, are in the hands of a particular group in the country? Could that be playing a role here?
This is the first time in this country that we've had a situation where you have all the security agencies coming from one particular part of the country.
Being led.
Yes, being led by, officers from a particular region of the country. And sometimes that results to groupthink. There is no room for critical analysis of situation so that better decisions can be made. Now, it could be a factor, but we will never know until there's a reshufflement, as people are calling for changes in the leadership of our security agencies. If that happens, we will be able to quickly find out if the leaders of our security agencies coming from a particular region contributed to the point where we are right now. Now, let me equally allude to what my brother has just said. You see, if we wait for our situation to get to the Rwandan situation, then we are done. We are gone. If we wait for 800,000 Nigerians to lose their lives, or 1 million as the case of Rwanda, then we are finished. I hope and I pray that it never gets to that point. But look, it was Agatu, then Benue, then Plateau, then there's Taraba, there's Nasrawa. So there is Southern Kaduna, there is Zamfara. So if we have the capacity to stop all these killers, what are we waiting for? He mentioned political will. If the political will is not there, nothing else will be there. Because it's political will that drives all and everything that the government does. So when that political will lacks, everything else will be lacking. If you look at what is happening in Nigeria right now and you try to compare it with what happened in Sudan with the Janjaweed, there is a glaring similarity between what is happening in Nigeria right now and the Janjaweed militia in Sudan. The government of Omar al-Bashir was in denial. People were dying. That problem in Darfur could not have ended had the international community not intervened. As you were aware, the AU sent forces. When the forces sent by AU was not adequate enough to make any significant impact, the UN had to come in. I am looking at a situation where something like that happens in this country, where we bring in a reinforcement, an international reinforcing troops. Because right now it appears that even those in the affected areas do not have confidence in our own security agencies. And if that is the case, how do they even build capacity? Mind you, security agencies most of the times rely on human intelligence for them to be able to carry out their operations. And when the confidence of the people are not there, how do they get that human intelligence to be able to carry out that operation? So that is where we need to build confidence in the people. And the way we can build that confidence in the people is to quickly bring in neutral troops or mediating forces in that area.
Let's go to Plateau State and see what has happened since this incident took place. Let's link up with the House of Representative member representing Barkin Ladirian, Federal Constituency of Plateau State, Honorable ISTAFINUS GYANG.
Honorable, good to have you on our program.
Thank you very much.
Can you bring us up to speed with what has happened in your constituency since that unfortunate incident?
Thank you very much. Just getting to a week now, my constituency was visited by terror, where the killer herdsmen attacked over 5 villages and killed over 200 people in cold blood. Women, children, young, old, and leading to displacement of several thousands of persons, destruction of whole villages, and what we are having now is a humanitarian crisis on our hands. And just to say that this is not the first time this is happening, but the scale of it is what has led to what what one can say is a Holocaust. It's an act of ethnic cleansing, and indeed can rightly be said to be genocide, in the sense that it is clearly in pursuit of an eat-all agenda of clearing all the native communities to take over their land under what I call land grabbing. This, unfortunately, is what has happened, and we are in a state of devastation, in a state of trauma. Hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands are in displacement, and this is the situation in my constituency now.
Has anyone been arrested, to your knowledge, since this event took place?
The reports that we're having from the security that some persons have been arrested, that their identity and profiles, that is yet to be disclosed.
How are the people coping? Yes, you are in a state of devastation, people are suffering, a lot of people are displaced. How are they coping? Is there in any way a government presence in their lives now to make their suffering a little reduced?
What has happened in this community is that they have gone into other communities. The survivors from the villages that were displaced, those that survived, many of them suffer in hospitals. Other ones that are being hosted by other communities, relatives. But we have over 10 displaced camps now, camps that are housing internally displaced persons. I have gone around the 2 local governments. Since it started, I've had to take the initiative of getting some foodstuff around these displaced persons camps. The vice president came, the president also came. We got assurances of the intervention of NEMA, and after a week, it is today that the materials started coming in from NEMA, and before then, it has been the host communities where these IDPs have gone into houses of relatives here and there, and those of us, public spirited individuals, and of course I, being the representative of the people, have to take it upon myself to get foodstuff and get it across to the people so that they can have something to feed on. And today I started seeing the intervention of government coming in. So we hope that it will be sustained.
Yeah, Honorable, do you in any way think that these attacks will stop? That probably this attack that we have now will be the last. Do you have any reason to believe that this could be the last?
Well, as you know, by the Constitution of Nigeria, the primary responsibility of government is to secure the lives and property of citizens. And I believe very strongly that the Nigerian state has the capacity and the capability to decisively bring these attacks to an end. But what has been lacking to me is the political will on the side of government, because even before the attacks came, this was that the last round of attacks, there was reports were received, and the authorities were alerted that nothing was done to secure these communities that came under these genocidal attacks. So what I want to say is there is the capacity and capability, given the enormous the military might of Nigeria and the elaborate security apparatus of the nation. We have what it takes to bring it to an end. But what is happening is that the political will is not there. And because that vested interest, as I tell you, the agenda to take over the lands of ethnic minorities here in the Middle Belt, that is why this thing may continue as long as that agenda remains in the form of those who are pursuing it. And the way to end it, to me, is to allow each state to have its state police. Because the federal police, the federal security apparatus, as strong as it is equally helpless because of political interference. They are not allowed to carry out their job professionally and effectively as they would. So the time has come for the states to be allowed to have their state police, so that each state will take the security of its people in their own hands. And I think that is the way to go.
Honorable ISTAFINUS GYANG, I must thank you for your time and for talking to us on the Signature Show.
Thank you.
You're still watching the Signature Show, and we're focusing today on Nigeria's security challenges. Is there any way out? Let me come to you, Senator. You cover defense, and you've been on that beat for a while. What does it take a president to change non-performing leaders of the military, the police, army, navy, and all that? What does it take? Is it so much hard work? What is the process?
It doesn't take anything, just a pronouncement, one paragraph, a directive. You know, I was trying to also add to what he was saying. When you ask if most of the majority of the head of security agencies coming from one part of the country affected is an issue. And I wanted to say yes and no, though he answered part of it. And it still boils down to that political will I'm talking about and the body language. Yes, if there's an agenda, and that's why people are apprehensive, if there's an agenda, it helps to accelerate that agenda. If there's a group, a regional, ethno-religious, a class agenda in a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious, pluralist society like Nigeria.
Does anything point to the fact that there could be an agenda?
With what is happening, we human beings are critical thinkers. We think in diverse ways. So, and if something is like this is happening and the government seems to be not forthcoming, it can reinforce that belief, whether force or not. But if the action seems to reinforce a belief, then there may be an element of truth. Then, coming back to what I'm saying, that if there's an agenda, it helps to accelerate it. But it also, there could be possible there's an agenda. And if there's also security, heads of security from different parts of the country, the Nigerian presidency, the way it's designed, I see that it's one of the most powerful in the world. Even if you, let's say, you appoint some security agencies and the presidency still don't want them to act or incapacitated, there's little or nothing. They could just be a dummy, a lame duck, a figurehead. They will know the strategic positions to still put key people that will still deliver on this mandate. Okay, when we say that head of, does it mean that if you check the armed forces, you still find that the majority of personnel that come from this middle belt, not central region, that are so vulnerable? Then you're asking me, why is it that still the people are still powerless to do anything? There's something that is called, there's structure. If the structure of the security of the state is not within your control, there's little or nothing you can do. And that's why people are talking about restructuring, calling state police. And that's why you hear the governor of Zamfara state openly say that he's resigning his position. People laugh it up, but it's a very, very symbolic statement. What he's saying is not...
He's resigning his position as chief security
of the state because he's powerless. What he's saying is not dissimilar to what is happened to Otom when a police spokesperson in a national television called him a drowning man, when the IGP ordering a governor to annul a law duly elected by Constituent Assembly of the state. When the governor of Enugu State was helpless, he gave a directive to the commissioner of the security that there is a looming attack, and they didn't carry out any of that. What is he saying? He's incapacitated. So if the structure is not reformed, is still concentrated, and the presidency is still controlled. So even if you bring head of, he may stall, he may limit, he may expose if there's an agenda. But it will be accelerated if there's an agenda when there is heads of security from the same region, and it doesn't behove well in a multi-ethnic where there are several fault lines like ours.
Bishop seems to have a solution, bring in foreign forces. But let's leave that for a while. Internally, what could be the way out? We are here.
Define what this problem is and deal with it. Government have to come out boldly and tell us. You can't tell us that our intelligence is so poor, that our security agencies are so that you don't know who are actually. Then when you define, you make arrest the principal actors, the sponsors, then prosecute. After that, I still come back, the restructuring of our security architecture is still too centralized for a federal state like Nigeria. Starting with the police. Yes, the army, we can have a national army. But if you check US, apart from having state police, they still have what they call National Guard.
National Guard.
Yes.
Yes. So you have various layers from the lowest level, from the community down to the top. So that at each of the constituency, province, LGS, the terminology you use, LGS, state, and all this, you have layers of security that knows the community and community knows them. And from this, we can build confidence. So, like I said, define what the problem is, begin to make arrests, begin to prosecute, then begin to restructure our security architecture. These are...
That could help.
Yes.
I mean, with what we have,
What can we do?
what can we quickly do before? Because when I watch you, draw inferences from the outside, I get really, really scared. Because I'm a student of history, I know the places and the names of countries you're mentioning, and I know what happened in those places. I get really scared.
Well, you shouldn't be scared. I don't think we understand the gravity of what we are facing right now if it continues at the rate at which we are going right now. A recent report, this is Independent Report International, not Nigeria, said that in the last 6 months, 1,800 and something people have been killed in Nigeria, in this particular region. So you can see at the rate at which we are going. If we continue at this rate and this madness continues for the time that Boko Haram was in existence, these people are going to far surpass Boko Haram. You've asked for what are the internal measures that we can take in Nigeria immediately to stop these problems. Let me beg to differ a little bit that we don't know the problem. We know our problems. Just like every other problems that we have in this country, there is a solution for it somewhere in a report, in a seminar, in a conference that is lying west somewhere in Nigeria. Like the issue of state police is well documented in the 2014 National Confab report. If you look at the Bagore report, some of these problems are there. Justice Oputa panel report, all these things are there. All of our problems have been identified and documented, including this farmer-herdsman clashes. It's there in the 2014 National Confab report. So our problems have been identified. We have intellectuals, we have brains, capable brains that have been able to analyze these problems, identify them, profile solutions. But like he said, we have had colossal failure of leadership who lack the political will to implement all these reports that we're talking about. There is no way you can tell me that our government does not know the people who are carrying these attacks. They know. They just simply do not want to act. If they want to act, they will act. And where they fail to act. If you go by the UN principle of responsibility to protect, which Nigeria endorsed in 2005, what it says is that the state has a responsibility to protect its citizens from ethnic cleansing, genocide, what they call mass atrocities. When the state fails to do that, the people themselves who are under attack have a right to protect themselves by organizing themselves into a militia, which was what General T.Y. Danjuma was alluding to in the famous speech that he made.
And that will be an invitation, quick invitation to anarchy and civil war.
Correct. Now, when the people lack the ability to do that, which in this case it appears the people don't have the capacity to constitute themselves into a militia to defend themselves, the international community has a responsibility to intervene. Nigeria endorsed that principle in 2005. So now, what do we do internally? I'm going to break them up into long term and short term. There is no quick fix to the problem other than those who are perpetrating these attacks, arrest them, prosecute them. Whether they are the farmers who are rustling the cattle, or they are the herdsmen or militia who are carrying out retaliatory attack. In each of those instances, all the key actors and principal actors need to be arrested, prosecuted, and sent to prison. By the time we eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, you will become a deterrent to would-be attackers or perpetrators. That is one. Secondly, I have always said it in every opportunity that I get. In 2018, we should not have animals roaming the streets of Nigeria. People should ranch their cattle. If you eliminate a situation where the cattle are not venturing into the farms, we may not be having all these problems. But because we have a livestock rearing system in Nigeria in which the animals are migratory from one point to the other, and in the course of their migration, they encounter farms and they feed on the crops, and then it leads to these flashpoint and clashes that we are experiencing right now. So we need to find a way to eliminate a situation where cattle are ranched. I don't care whether they are private ranches or they are publicly provided ranches, but we have to have ranches so that these cattle are confined to one environment and they are not migrating from one point to the other and feeding on crops. So that is one recommendation. Now, in the medium term and the long term, we should look at how to mop up small arms and light weapons in this country. Think of it. If you eliminate military style assault rifles in this whole equation, you think we have this number of fatalities? No, we can't. There are a limit to the fatality that can come from somebody using machete or bow to kill people. But because our country is awash with small arms and light weapons, and they're easily accessible to individuals, that is why you see this mayhem coming out. Let me tell you, there was a report from the United Nations that came out in 2016. Out of the 500 million small arms and light weapons that are awash in the ECOWAS region, 70% of them are in Nigeria. And that is about 350 million of them. If you begin to shoot everyone Nigeria, you will kill everyone Nigeria at least 2 times before you exhaust that amount of light weapons. So we need to find a way to mop up light weapons and small arms and light weapons that are awash in our country. How do you stop that? There are only 3 ways that people can have access to these weapons. One is they're coming through the border from outside. In that case, our immigration and customs services have to be on alert. We have to ensure border security. Unfortunately, the whole of our northern segment of our border, these are official statistics from the immigrations, there are over 1,500 illegal crossing lines that cannot be manned. The terrain is difficult, so people are easily pouring in across the border. And we have not deployed technology to secure our borders. I was expecting our president, when he visited the US President Donald Trump and he was asked about this problem, I was thinking that our president could have utilized that opportunity to say, look, I have a problem at my border just like you have. I need assistance. I need assistance in area of training. I need assistance in the area of provision of equipment. What will happen if we have a drone center in this country for our immigration services, for them to monitor, conduct area surveillance through our border? So the border is one area, border security is one area that we need to look at, and that is within the medium and long range term. Now, another area you can get weapons in this country is that there are local manufacturers. We need to look at our security agencies as well, because this is another area that these people can be getting weapons. Is there complicit collusion from our security personnel in the area of supply of military-style assault weapons to these people who are carrying out these attacks? If there is, some actions need to be taken in that regard. If we do all these things and we eliminate the use of military-style assault rifles in these clashes that we are seeing, you will see that the fatalities will reduce tremendously.
Gentlemen, I must thank you for coming on the show. Senator IROEGBU, thanks for coming, defense correspondent at THISDAY.
Thank you.
And Captain Bishop C. Johnson, U.S. Army retired, National Defense and Military Strategist. Thanks for your insight.
Thank you.
Don't forget, you can reach us on our social media platforms. We want to know what you want to see, what you want to watch, who you want us to invite on the show. And we also want to know how you feel about what we do here. Don't also forget that in case you've missed this part of the show or you missed any of our shows, you can go to signaturetv.com.ng. And until we get together again, same time next Sunday, I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo from the Signature Studios in Abuja, Nigeria, thanking you for watching.